In our first recorded lecture this week, we're going to be talking about your web search for your project. We're going to talk about web search engines and research databases available through Bethel Library. Finding the truth. Sometimes that's hard, isn't it? Jesus said to the Jews who believed on him, "If you continue in my word, then you are my disciples, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." And yet, there's a question that underlies that statement, isn't there? Roman Governor Pilate asked it before condemning Jesus to death. Jesus said, "You say that I am king, for this I was born and came into the world to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." And Pilate asked sarcastically, "What is the truth?" Finding the truth. Often that takes a lot of research. In our course project, you'll be looking for information in two areas. First, on the web, using web search engines, published sources posted online, web pages, and sometimes personal pages. But there are both benefits and challenges to web sources. First of all, most of us are familiar with doing web searches, at least to some extent. And the sources we find there are often very readable and attractive, but there are frequently serious credibility questions. The other source we're going to look for is scholarly. Library and scholarly databases, academic books, and scholarly journals. Now these sources can be using unfamiliar databases, and sometimes the material itself is very challenging, but the information you find is highly credible. Now there are two great dangers of seeking information on the web. The first is getting lost in an ocean of material. The second is uncritically accepting posted material as fact. Most of us surf the web at least somewhat. Well, if you do, how do you do that? Do you use Google or Bing or Yahoo? That's pretty easy, right? Getting results is indeed easy. If I do a search for corporal punishment on Google, I find 4 million results. Okay, 4 million. What in the world am I going to do with that? How do I navigate this sea? Well, most of us look through the first few pages of results that pop up. But how do those pages get there? Web search engines operate in a technique that you need to understand. They survey the web information really fast, but then they rank those results according to algorithms, which are complex formulas for doing this. And that's how they decide which items out of the 4 million get top billing. Now, doing this inherently includes a bias. Sometimes that bias is commercial. Commercial interests can be built into the searches done by a resource like Google. But also, people who put websites on the web manipulate them in order to increase the odds of their showing up on that first page. But that's not the only source of bias. You are another source, because the web tools have based your surfing and e-purchasing history as one of the reasons for deciding which things you want to see. So the results of a web search you do will differ from mine, and they'll reflect your biases and desires. And this can be a misleading guide to information. Then there are implicit cultural and ideological biases. We look for information in sources of the same language or nationality or social class or ethnicity, and we don't really think about that. But this is an insidious, invisible distortion of information. Think hard and critically about your web searches. Fortunately, our library has help for you. If you just do a web search in Google, what you'll get is probably a mess. You should do that and explore a little bit, But we have research databases which will help immensely and make you a better academic researcher. Professional researchers select credible sources, and these are usually edited, published periodicals. Now these databases cost money. Fortunately, they're available through Bethel's library, and they're already paid for in your tuition. So let's use these wonderful resources. The best way to get started is to look at the Library Tour Part 2, which is posted in Moodle. Would you like to be efficient in doing this project? I'll bet you would. Well, limit your use of web search engines. Instead, jump into the Bethel Library databases. You can go to this link and use the all-purpose tool Summon to do a search. You can also refine your search with filters. So for example, as you can see to the left, you can choose certain content types like peer-reviewed articles. Discipline, that is the academic discipline. You can control for date or language or whatever. This can be a very efficient tool for you. But you can dig deeper using cross-disciplinary databases. These are powerful collections of credible sources with links to articles available online. There's an academic and/or professional focus in tools like Academic Search Premier, EBSCO Megafile, Expanded Academic, or LexisNexis. Now, when using these tools, you'll generally at some point have to log in with your Bethel username and password. And the links to all of these databases are found at this address. Now, at some point in your search, you may very well encounter this horrible feeling. Oh no! I'm looking for something and I can't find it. What you have to understand is that searching for sources is an art. You'll come up with certain keywords that you think will pull you into materials on your topic, but they might not yield anything, or they may take you in a completely different direction. You need to find the right keywords and phrases. And when I say right, what I'm referring to is the words used by researchers in the field that you're actually looking at. And that might not be evident at first. So hang in there and be flexible in your searching. And don't wait too long. Ask for help. You can ask for your help from your instructor or from a research librarian at Bethel. And you can see that if you go to this address, you can contact research librarians by phone, by chat, or by email. Now at this early stage, what are we looking for? Well, from our web search, we want to find a plentiful list of potential sources. Don't read them yet. Don't start reading material. We need a list that's longer than the list that we're actually going to choose, because many sources that initially seem perfect turn out not to be. They're off topic, or they're not credible, or they're thin, or in some way they don't give you what you're looking for. So we need a long list of sources, and later we'll start selecting sources for, first of all, a brief review, is this really what I'm looking for? And then a few sources for close reading, and then perhaps even fewer that will actually be cited in your essay. Right now, try to pull together a preliminary list of 15 or more articles. Remember, you don't have to read them yet. Wait a minute, what do I do with these articles? You might be wondering. Well, you could make a manual list. That could be kind of frustrating. In any case, you want to make sure you have the article for good. It's really frustrating to find an article, then lose track of it, then drive yourself crazy trying to find it again. So use the options available when you do your searches using the Bethel Library's tools. Often you'll have a chance to download a PDF version of the article and you can save it to your computer. You can send it to yourself via email. But you know, if you do things like this, you'll still have to keep track of things that are separate from each other. It's a better idea to use the library's integration tools. For example, if you go to the Bethel Library homepage, you'll find a command that says a summon search. Alright, if you search for something there, so for example, I search for corporal punishment and I get an article like this. Okay, notice first of all that there's a permalink, and I can copy and keep that address so I can always find that again. But notice this wonderful tool. It looks like a folder with a plus sign on it. And if you click that, you'll store the article. And if you look at the top of the web page, you'll see an icon referring to your stored articles, and it shows you how many you've got in there. This is a temporary folder, and you can click the icon to see those stored items. But remember, I said temporary. It must be sent somewhere. Let's look at an example. Suppose I have created a temporary folder of 3 different articles about corporal punishment. Okay, notice that I have some tools to work with here. I can choose a citation format. That's really important. It'll make sense to you later in the course. And, this is the key, I can export all of these articles at once. Now, I can send them to various places. And among these options, look at that first item, RefWorks. That's important. RefWorks is a very powerful research tool. You don't have to use it for this course, but I would suggest that you try becoming familiar with it. You can use it to store and organize all of your sources in one place. Every time you find something that looks valuable, stick it in RefWorks and you can get back to it later. This will give you links so you can always get back to those sources. And on top of that, RefWorks will generate APA formatted reference lists. And a little bit later in the course, you'll see just how wonderful that is. This tool can save you lots of time and keep you organized so you don't get lost in your materials. So again, you don't have to use it, but I think if you do, you'll be happy. Okay, if you're game to try RefWorks out, go to this address and you'll find all kinds of information. And there's a folder on that page that says Account Setup. It has instructions to create your account and set up a group code so that you can work off campus. So wherever you are in the world, you can use RefWorks to use the resources at Bethel's library. If you're confused by all this, contact a librarian for help. Keep using RefWorks as you search. Most Bethel databases have the RefWorks option. So as you're looking at a listing of a particular article, you say, well, that looks good, and you just click and save it to RefWorks. Keep everything there, and I think you'll be glad that you did. Well, hopefully these tools will help you with the first challenge of web research, which is to navigate a sea of information. But then you're going to face the question, which sources will I choose? Well, you have to choose the relevant ones, right? And the ones that are available. Always watch closely for indication of whether a source is available online. For example, an e-book or an article where the full text is available online. Sometimes they're not. And you also want to choose sources you can trust. Therein lies the tale. And let's go on to Lecture 2B.